Episode number 66 of Making the Case. What does it mean to be real? Hey, stay tuned. You'll find out. Let's get it.
This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
This isn't real.
What is
Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Making the Case, episode number 66. What is real? What is being real? Okay, that's what we're going to be addressing in this episode. I am none other than your host, Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, author, speaker, entrepreneur, content creator, consultant, father, a little bit of everything. All right. Let's go off our two channel norms before we get into it. One, we attack points and not people. And then two, we don't do all that cussing and derogatory stuff because we're professional over here. All right. So I want to start off before I even introduce myself or anything. I want to start off with that clip that you just saw because one, The Matrix is by far probably my favorite movie of all time because I am a movie head. And two, I think it sets the stage and the scene for this episode because I wholeheartedly agree with what Morpheus said to Neo, right? He asked, well, what is real? Well, if you want to get simplistic, if you just want to get factual with it, it's nothing but electrical signals to our brain, right? Because if we're brain dead, then we're not smelling. We have no sense of touch, taste, none of that. Right. So if we really want to go to the foundation of what is real, things are real because our brain says it is. Right. And that is the conundrum with telling somebody that something is not real. Because if their brain is literally telling them, hey, like, I can see this image in my head. Right. I may not be able to touch it or taste it, but I can see the images coming to my head. How can you tell somebody that's not real to them? Right. That's why I believe you will never be able to tell people that God is not real to people. Right. I mean, if they have this feeling, if they have this undesirable need that needs to be quenched by a creator or someone that give them a sense of purpose and direction, then how can you tell somebody that's not real? So we're really gonna dive into what is being real, what is real. I know we say you hear that a lot, man, just keep it real. Dave Chappelle had a very funny skit on when keeping it real goes wrong. But that goes to like the cultural understanding of what being real is, right? Which is a little bit different from when we saying, okay, what is real to you? What is real to us? Right. So we're gonna kind of actually dive into both aspects a little bit. We're gonna get philosophical in this episode. I told y'all that I'm a amateur philosopher. I did tell you that. Okay. So we're gonna get philosophical in this episode. We're gonna touch on what does it mean to be real, and we kind of already touched on that when we look at just the simplistic. I mean, it's electrical signals, right? Which is a little bit dangerous, right? Because we know that because of chemistry and brain chemistry and different chemicals we put inside our bodies, that hey, and also how everybody brain makeup is different. So we're gonna go a lot of different directions with this episode, so it should be fun. I actually was looking forward to this episode because I don't know, I like philosophical conversations, and I know we normally more specifically talking about relationship and the educational lane. But this was going to be a real good one, and we can go many directions, and more than likely we will. All right, so strap up. Let's go on this fun ride together. All right, so I got 3 pieces of evidence for you. Let's get into our first piece of evidence. Without further ado, let's get it.
What does the word real mean to you?
The word real.
Real. That's a tough one.
Let me think.
Word real. Fishing? Okay, I'll give it my best shot.
I would define real as being raw.
Real is all about genuine. That's what real is.
It means everything is possible.
When I hear that word, I often think about someone who's authentic, who is not putting on airs.
Not who you want to be or who you think people want you to be, just authentically you.
Raw and just like exactly how they're feeling.
Something that can't be pretended.
Something you can like know is there or see almost, or feel.
Real to me is something you can maybe feel better than you can see.
Quite a philosophical question. I would say real is something I can count on, and I know it's there. It's tangible, maybe.
Most things are real. You can reach out and touch people, things, books, Bible. But a real presence, let's say, would be a feeling which you can't reach out and touch.
True to who you are and who you are becoming.
Not fake.
So I think real, what comes to mind for me is being genuine or being real as a person.
Like someone that is real is someone who's easy to be around or easy to talk to or easy to share with or easy to listen to or just be with.
Real to me is something that is authentic, is pure from the heart without premeditation.
Being real would be like having an actual conversation with someone rather than just like the simple stuff. Like a real conversation would be like a real conversation.
People understand what's real, and when they feel something that's real, they understand it to be so.
All right, so that was my first piece of evidence. I want to follow up with another video that was touching on, well, what is real to people, right? And I like videos like that because it adds people of different races, ethnicities, genders, age groups, and asks them, okay, what is your definition of this or that? And in this case, of course, we're talking about what was their definition of real, right? So outside of what we started with talking about, well, they simply electrical brain impulses, right? That tells us what's real or not. This video, or the people definition of what real is, coming from a more socio-cultural standpoint of how we understand what real is, right? And what you kept hearing over and over is a lot of people just feel like real is being authentic, right? You're going to hear that word a lot when it comes to being real. It's a synonym if you really want to be honest, right? When you think of real, you think of authentic, all right? I'm being true to myself, all right? So as the video kind of ended with, original, no imitation, but that begs to differ, right? If people are understanding what it means to be real, was saying that you're true to yourself, it's not fake, right? Because the opposite of real is fake, right? Then why does it seem like we live in society that puts on a show for other people? And it seems like we're not being true to ourselves and true to our identity. It seems like a lot of us are being fake and not being real. I mean, even when you look at the aesthetics of it all, right? Look at it on social media when it comes to filters, when it comes to people using AI, when it comes to hair extension, makeup, etc. Right? All these aesthetics that we use to try to make ourselves look different from what we truly are, or make us look better, because psychologically deep down inside, that means it's something about ourselves that we don't like. Right? So that's not being real. So I think we really have to ask ourselves, all right, are we being real? Are we being authentic? What is it that we don't like about ourselves? Why are we trying so hard to present something different than what people would come to know of us? That's not being real. Okay. So I think a lot of people will be in agreement with the definition of what being real. But I also believe that a lot of people will be in agreement with the fact that a lot of people are not being real. A lot of people are not being authentic to themselves and true to themselves. Now, in all fairness, I don't think it's easy to know who you are, right? So some of it may just come from ignorance of who you truly are, right? No one can really teach us to be us, because we're the only original copy. Even if you're a twin, which I am, fraternal twin, but I am a twin. Like me and my twin brother, we two completely different people, right? Emotionally, mentally, physically, all that. Right. So I think we really got to ask ourselves, are we being true and real to ourselves? Have we really come to know ourselves well enough to understand what being authentic and real to our true identity and ourselves will really look like and feel like? So there's a lot of soul searching that we all must do, which is why a lot of people go through different midlife crises and things of that nature. So things have never been easy, but I will say with, YouTube shows like myself and other people out there, I get a lot of perspective from watching other YouTube channels and reading and doing research and just observation, just watching other people, right? Whether that's young or old. So, but we're going to keep furthering the conversation on what is real with our next piece of evidence. Let's get it. All right, so we got our piece of evidence number 2. We still talking about what does it mean to be real, and that's literally the title of our next piece of evidence. I have an article from Life Coach Directory. First time using it, never heard of it. So let's see what Miss Yvonne Fernando has to say about what does it mean to be real. Okay. Now I will say this. The next 2 pieces of evidence are their cultural understanding of what it means to be real, right? One is going to be more so from, and I'm just going to be real, more so from an African-American perspective, one more so from the Anglo-American perspective, which of course would be this one. So let's see what they have to say about being real. Over the last few years, authenticity has been a real buzzword from personal development in relationship to business, marketing, even social media. While many of us are familiar with seeking an authentic travel experience or visiting an authentic local shop, we may not really know what it means to live authentically or to be real. Authenticity offers a comfortable place from which to run your life, as there is no need to pretend or cover up. It's about operating and existing from a point of strength and being 100% sure of your ground. It's also about not trying too hard. Sometimes people may not agree with your views, but they will value, trust, and respect you and your opinions because they appreciate that what you say and do is truly what you mean rather than a sham. Having a point of view is vital to authenticity, and this helps others to know where you stand and where they stand. Authenticity means being genuine, sharing your passion and ideas, but equally being open and willing to engage in alternative points of view and taking the time to listen and understand, which is not easy, right? And so that I'm under the impression that's what it means to be real myself, right? To be authentic, to be transparent, to be honest, to be open up front, to be willing to communicate, be adaptable, adaptive to your environment, to situations, to incoming information that, may change your viewpoint and how you look at things. And I think I was having this conversation a long time ago, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't do, right? They don't take in new information and let it settle and be like, wow, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let me kind of alter or adapt my viewpoint based on new information, right? I don't think enough of us really do that. I know that I'm constantly inundated with new information on a daily basis. So I really have no choice but to kind of rearrange, how I kind of look at things. Now, some things that I will say that, hey, I'm just not budging off of how I feel about things, right? Because I done had enough factual information come to me that, it just makes sense. Or from a biological perspective, it just makes sense because of experimentation and observation and so on. So I definitely agree with the viewpoint of authenticity being real. Being authentic is an attractive proposition. It generates respect and trust from others and is a key component of great leadership. When people believe in themselves and are true to those beliefs and values, others are naturally drawn to them and in turn believe in their message and follow their guidance. When asked about power, Oprah Winfrey explained the truth is there is no power without authentic power. And one of the reasons I appear to be so successful is because I understand the principle of authentic power. I never heard of authentic power before. That's interesting. But I kind of get what she's saying. Have you ever been in a situation, relationship, or a job that you just didn't feel right? Often that's the feeling we get when we are being inauthentic or acting in ways that aren't compatible with our value, beliefs, and abilities. We feel out of sync, even if things on the surface appear to be ideal. And well, let me throw a caveat in that. Yes, I feel like if you are intentionally inauthentic, yes, you will feel uncomfortable. But I've been in situations where I'm authentic, but the environment or situation is so unnatural to me that I'm not comfortable because of that. And now I'm always willing and always will adapt to my environments, but it's just some environments where you just don't feel comfortable, right? So I think that's a little caveat that I just want to throw in there. The more virtual life becomes, the more we hanker after something real and genuine. More and more of us operate online via multiple choice switchboards with automated voices and through screen-based check-ins for appointments. As the human element disappears from many of our daily tasks, what people really want more of is not just a product or a service, it's an experience. Something that is honest, transparent, and real. There's even more reason than ever to make sure that when we do engage one-on-one, it's real and meaningful. And that's a good point. I mean, we are pretty virtual and AI and all this stuff. And so when we have less and less relationship, human contact, then when we do get human contact, we want it to be actually authentic. So that's a good point. Living authentically is about being genuine, real, and true to yourself. It's not doing what your parents or society wants or what you think you should do. Self-awareness is pivotal, and when you embrace this knowledge, decisions become easier because you are afraid to choose things that are closer to your values. While authenticity may sometimes mean making an unpopular decision or revealing parts of you that you rather hide, in the end, it allows you to live a more open, happy, and fulfilled life. Are you living authentically? Here are 5 things to try on the road to being real. All right. I think a lot of us struggle with being authentic, true to ourselves. But like I said earlier, I think it's because we haven't took the time to really understand who we truly are. The only way for you to really understand who you truly are is for you to be alone. You have to be by yourself. You have to let your mind wander and work through things, work through conflict by yourself, work through the range of emotions you get when you by yourself. You got to allow time. And that's what I think people really mean when they say, I needed time to heal when getting out of a relationship, right? Because what it really is, you just need time to yourself to figure out, to get your emotions in check and really figure out what your next move is to plan, plot, and strategize. That's what it really means when people are saying, I'm healing, right? So I'm not going to read all 5 of these, find out who you are, which of course that's easier said than done. Align heart and actions. So alignment, absolutely. Let go of the past. Yes, your past will haunt you if you don't let go of the trauma and different things that can hold you back. Think for yourself and believe in yourself and be you. Absolutely. So I thought this was a great article for kind of addressing what does it mean to be real. And of course, eventually, not some people don't truly find themselves until their truly later years, right? I don't think you can find yourself within the first 2 decades of your life. Now, is it possible? Of course, things are not absolute, so yes. But I think more so, like, I can speak for myself. I didn't really find myself until I was like 25, mid-20s, later 20s, right? And so I think that's the case for a lot of people, and some even in their 30s and 40s. So, but as long as you are understanding, what makes you tick, the things that make you, and literally staying in that lane, because what makes you happy, man. It don't matter what makes other people happy, right? Stay in your lane, hone your skills, do what's right by you, and you'll find out who you are and you'll become your authentic self. So, all right. So we're going to move on to our last piece of evidence and wrap this on up with a bow. Let's get into evidence number 3. All right. So for my piece of evidence number 3 to what is being real, as I mentioned in the last piece, that, well, we're going to go from more the African-American point of view, because there's a difference when Black people say, are you being real? That's something totally different than what the Anglo-Saxon point of view is, or society's point of view. All right. So we're going to kind of dive into what African Americans mean by keeping it real, or what does it mean to be real as an African American, because there is just a different sense, because many African Americans, many of us know that we've kind of been dealing with that for our whole life. Like some people will say that, you're not being Black if you talk a certain way, if you do certain activities. Like, we've always lived with that stigma in the Black community for a very long time now. So we're going to kind of address that. We're going to end off this episode with kind of addressing the African-American point of view when it comes to what does it mean to be real. So I have an article from the Hawk newspaper, of course, first time using it, never heard of it. And the title of this is, what is authentic Blackness, right? If there's ever such a thing, right? I don't believe it is, but let's get into it. Let's see what they got to say about this. Here we go. Blackness has more than 2 faces, and all of them are valid. I would agree. The other day, a few of my friends got into an argument. One of my friends referred to themselves and their friends as the Blacks, and another group of my friends as the other Blacks. That's kind of disrespectful. Not kind of. When I heard this, I was honestly appalled and unsure of how to process what I've heard. That friend went on to say how the Blacks were the ones that everyone liked, who lived in the authentic Black life, and were the kind of Black that every Black person should try to emulate. I don't know what that means. Loud, dramatic, extra, angry, petty, natural, and dark skin. Oh, that's what that means. And that's kind of also part of the problem, right? There is this stereotypical idea of what a Black man and a Black woman look like, sound like, dress like, and things of that nature, which is not representative of us as a whole. Of course, we know we're not a monolith, but there is this image that people outside this community definitely have of us, right? But even people within inside the community, they actually believe in this ideology as well. So it's crazy, but I mean, he's describing what a lot of people do feel like Black people talk like, and what their behavior attributes are, right? The other blacks were described as those who are more or less spoke with a certain intonation that some might call bougie. These black were the ones that were considered part of the elite, the bourgeoisie, as they say. They were in this moment described as out of touch with the authenticity of blackness. These are the people with membership to the Jack and Jill of America, the bougie, well-mannered, disassociated classes, Uncle Tom like, white acting, hypocritical kind. This bothers me more than most can imagine. In the world today, there is the constructed dichotomy of blackness that doesn't seem to allow much room for anything else. I would agree, right? You either consider this loud, foul-mouthed, drink, smoke, hang on the corner, or if you do anything else outside of that, you trying to act white or anything. Like, it's the most asinine take that you can have on black people and cultural understandings. Like, it just doesn't make sense. All right. Let's continue. But truthfully, blackness is a multivariant as the black diaspora, which is true. There is, in fact, the complexity of authentic blackness that's pushing past the boundaries of this dichotomy, but isn't always easily distinguishable because of circumstances. We all come from unique backgrounds where, whether consciously or unconsciously, we had to make a choice of how we would live out our best lives to survive in the world we were born into. For some, that meant assimilating to mainstream white norms of society because we knew that the color of our skin already othered us enough and we only desired to be accepted for who we are. Things like straightening our hair, even though we dread the amount of time and effort it takes. Up-pitching all of our statements that they might sound like questions rather than assertive statements with hopes that our skin tone does not scream louder than our words. Code switching to fit in with what this country has made a distinction between culture and uncivilized. For others, we had to adapt characteristics that would be seen as stereotypical in age. We had to know the language of the hood, educated or not. We couldn't speak it. We were deemed sellout. Both of these are survival mechanisms in an attempt for black and brown people to navigate the world in our culture that sometimes acts as its own alternative world. And all of these are facts, man. Like, it's almost and he's about to get into it, so I'm not going to speak on it. But it's like we have to live double and triple lives, and it's hard for us to be real and authentic to who we truly are because we carry this veil of blackness on us, right? That we have to act and talk and be a certain way in order to fit in to our own cultural group that we're a part of. Never mind the whole idea of race, right? We're talking about culture. And culturally, how we're supposed to react and respond to people that look like us and to the others, right? So it's always something that I was aware of growing up, but really didn't understand the magnification of what it would do to my psyche and my mentality, right? So something that I still, and I think if people are being authentic and honest, something I still deal with to this day, right? Is being true to who I really am, understanding where I grew up, but also, more importantly, understanding who I am, right? Being a black man is part of who I am, but that comes from the outside, right? I'm a human being first, right? I'm human, then male, then I'm a black man, right? Let's not get it twisted. Let's keep continuing. In the book, The Souls of Black Force, W.E.B. Du Bois talks about this notion of double consciousness. I think I did a video on this before. He described this phenomenon as this sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others, of measuring one's soul by the tape of a world that looks on in amused contempt and pity. So what is enough? We are othered by the mainstream because of the color of our skin. Stigmas and stereotypes are mapped onto black bodies regardless of what comes out of our mouths. Then we are called uppity, told we talk white, and are deemed out of touch with our heritage by other blacks. Or we are called ratchet, told we talk ghetto, and this is suggested that we are not good enough for what we might be. Many black people struggling inwardly with this constant negotiation of who we are and at what point we can fully be that person. Black people are in a never-ending war within and outside the community. And there's no need to read because there's not much else left. There's no need. I mean, he hit it spot on, right? Like, it goes back to the phrase, you damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? So within the community, it's like you can't win if you're not acting a certain way. And then with outside of the community, they expect you to act that certain way. And then when you act different from what they expect, then they're like, oh, you're not like I've been told a few times, right? You're not like the other black dudes, right? Because I'm articulate, right? I know how to speak to people. Because I look the way I look, I shouldn't be talking the way I talk. And I don't get offended by it because actually it's slick kind of a compliment, but it's more so based out of stereotypical, prejudice that people have. But it kind of is what it is. So to kind of wrap things up, because of course we get into our closing statement, I'm getting comfortable for this, is, what is being real? Being real is being authentic. Being real is being true to yourself, having an identity and sticking with that identity, making sure that identity aligns with who you say you are, right? So who you say you are has to follow what you do, the footsteps that you take. All right. So, that's what being real is, man. You can try to, as this article is kind of touching on, you can try to be real and fit in with the in group and fit in with your culture, right? That, in one sense, I guess could be being real. But to be honest with you, at the end of the day, it's kind of being fake, more so fake than anything, because you're just trying to do things to fit in. I knew when I started this YouTube channel, it's going to be different than anything you ever seen on YouTube. And correct me if you're wrong, if you ever seen anything like this. But what we doing is we're trying to change the paradigm, right? We going to give you that information, that education with that entertainment, baby. You know what I mean? And we're going to do it at a high clip. And we're only going to get better. We're only going to improve. We're only going to bring you more. All right? So, hey, I think that's a great way to end things, man. Hopefully you gained something from this episode, man. Hey, once again, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you with you rocking with me. Hey, you already know my links will be in the description. I shouldn't even have to tell you. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you got any topics you want me to make the case on. And of course, I am you, you are me. Love always, love eternal. Remember, the worst thing you could do is lie to yourself. And I think we just made that case, baby. All right. Deuces. One love.